Oh man, why can't I separate them? Okay. I'm gonna start from the top. It is rather than a big bang. Here's what data-oriented design is. Uh, we're going to use this chapter to walk through designing a small feature in all of its chaotic glory. Data oriented design is quite a bit like all the design processes, iterative and messy. We'll make plenty of missteps, hit lots of dead ends, and have to do more than a few total resets. We'll walk through all those messy bits here because, well, first, we'll do them in real life. Two, at least when I'm the one doing the design. However, beyond that, we walk through all these wrong paths so that we can train ourselves to become sensitive to what wrong feels like and the symptoms it causes in the code. Once we can put a finger on why something is wrong, making it right is much easier. What might what might be kind of surprising is that our design process will be focused entirely on the data in our domain and what it means. Data oriented design is largely in the spirit of Fred Brooks's classic observation from Mythical Man Month. Representation is the essence of programming. If we get the representation of our data right, everything else tends to fall into place. As such, we won't worry about behaviors or efficiency, design patterns, or any other operational focus concerns for now. Well, we are also going to ignore that our job as software engineers is to build systems. Systems forces us to juggle complex, often unsatisfying design trade offs. We'll deal with the mess later. For now, we're going to allow ourselves to design in glorious isolation of the world. We'll focus on just the data, what it means, and how much we can accomplish by tweaking its representation. So, 4.1, starting from requirements. Uh, to give a motivating example, I did a brief stint working on manufacturing software for a rocket startup. One thing that's interesting about rocketry is that beneath all of the advanced CAD software and simulation, the core technology that underpins absolutely everything is the humble and very low tech checklist. Technically, they called it a procedure, but I know a checklist when I see one. Almost nothing happens without someone somewhere marking off a checkbook or checkbox as they go. Rockets are just too complex for humans to manage without them. The checklist reign is absolute because, as you might guess, with rockets, a lot of those individual steps are really important. You don't want questions like, did we remember to blah blah blah? When the remember part involves things that explode. So, we're going to walk through modeling one of these checklists that keep rocket manufacturing on track. However, we'll do so with a slight twist. Unlike our previous chapter, where we started with some existing code and refined from there, We're going to start completely from scratch with nothing more than a loose requirement statement. Extra heavy emphasis is placed on the loose part, as that's unfortunately the shape in which most requirements will end up in front of us. Our job is to tease apart everything that's vague and understand and and underdefined so that we can turn it into precise code. So let's get started. Here's our official requirement statement. I want to be able to create and use a checklist. So we start with whatever this is. 1.1 says I want to be able to create and use a checklist. What is a checklist? What does the checklist like in this scenario? What does it entail? So my answer is a checklist should have task, and if the task have been accomplished or not. So you have a task and you have like a checkbox that says whether you've accomplished that task or not accomplished it, I guess. All right. This is that I hate this. I hate this with all grit. Like why? Why would you want that? You know what I mean? Like why would you want this? So if I do that, I think it just depends on the pressure, I guess. Because if I do that, that works. But if pressure doesn't give a, I don't know. I just don't like it. Like sometimes you just want to be able to do this. You don't want it to highlight anything. Just want to highlight it and just move on. But well, what's a checklist? Well, it's a list, and it has boxes or check boxes. Okay, with labels, and we check them off as we complete stuff. It's so well trodden that if we wanted to, we could probably dive straight in and sketch out our view of a checklist without some code like this. With some code like this, whatever. I'll give one case. All right. Well, we kind of do have them. Well, toggle, we have that, right? I think we should start from scratch, right? Because I started this and Linux did what Linux do best, right? I'll start here and we'll have that. And let's say just split, I guess. Right, so we have that. Yeah, we can have this. Cool. Let's close this. Alright. Cool. Alright, so what is a checklist? To us, this is a checklist. So we have on a checklist, you have like, you can create a record, right? Let's say this checklist is gonna have a task. You have a task, and the task has a name. Let's say a string. Name of the task. What should I say? Task. Task name. And we'll have a boolean. Done or completed. right now this is our little thing, and on the checklist, from what I see now, we have the checklist itself. Will be a record. The record is going to be called checklist. We'll have like a list of tasks. Right, like tasks, something like that. Correct. Beautiful, right? Which here we're gonna import Java dot, no, not that, Java dot util dot maybe list, and that should do the trick. All right, so we have that. So this is, whatever. However, if we represent this grand design to our friendly rocket scientist, they'll let us know that it doesn't line up with how they use checklists. The reason they use checklist is repeatability, right? They want to figure out the hard stuff once and then reuse that knowledge over and over. So there are two distinct phases, right? So the first is coming up with a template for the work, and the second phase is having people run through this instance of that template to perform the job. So we have this template, right? Whatever this is, I can't remember why I wrote this, but yeah, we have the template. The template has a name, which is kind of like this, right? So you have a task with a name. It doesn't say it has to be done or not done, right? The template is just a name. So that's from phases. It's called phases. We have one as a template. What's it called? So there are two distinct phases. The first one is coming up with a template for the work. So template, and then two, repeat, or should I say work on the template. Over and over again. Yeah. Just like they said, right? I think they said it somewhere over there. Something about over and over. Well, that's past. Okay. So the first phase is to have a template, which is kind of like a name, right? Like what are you doing? So you have like this template, this template, this template. So you have a template. So actually, a template should be something like this. This is what I think about, since it has no name, right? So we have record. Record is going to be called a template. That template is going to have a string of template name or whatever. I like just for clarity's sake, right? So you have template name, and then you can have like you can have a record that tells you whether something is done, right? So a record, or should I, how would you put this? So you want to know if it's done, right? So, or should I say the template should reside in a container that tells us whether it's none. Tells us whether it's done or not, right? So, and so something like this. So you have a template, and something is going to tell you. The template is nothing but just a name, right? And you can have but a name. That's what I'm getting from this, but we can go. So we have a template, right? A collection. A template is a collection of things to do. Okay, so a template is a collection of things to do. So we'll have maybe a list of what if I do it? A list like this, right? Like a list of things, of names. We can call that. Actually, we can just take this out. And still here. Should not be that. It should just be this. These are tasks, right? And this will just be tasks. That's all this is. So we have a task, and we have a template, and a template is just a list of tasks. Tasks have names, right? And if we say an instance of a template, if we create like a record, and call it template instance. Template instance is gonna be like it's gonna have like a date, right? Like things like that. That's what I think, like something of that nature. But I'm going. So a template is a list of things to do, a list of tasks. Tasks have names. A checklist has a list of tasks. Oh, so what's the difference between this and this, right? So this is a checklist, right? But yeah, let's go with this template. Template is this, right? Okay. So, however, the repeatability phase is coming up with a template for the work. So the template for the work is going to have a list of things to do for that work. But this is the template. And the second is having people run through instance of the templates to perform the work. Checklists have enough going on now. To quote Leslie Lamport, it's probably a good idea to know what we are doing before we try building anything. So let's pause on the implementation and try to figure out what we're going to do, what we're going to be building. Firming up loose ends, I think that's what this is. So let's read through the law note. So a template is like, let's say we have a template has a name, and the name of the template is Wing Dynamics, points to different tasks, right? So this should actually just be like a list of stuff to do. It has a name like that, points to task with its checklist, like timestamp. A template is a collection of things to do, so we have to categorize that template, right? Things to do, but it doesn't tell us that actually. It's just for now we know it as this. All right, so we're still sort of fumbling around at this point, which is normal. So we'll expect a few missteps, but let's charge forward and write down what we know. We've learned that there are two distinct things going on here. So we can split out the idea of a template from the idea of an instance of a template, right? So this is what we know, and this is what we know, and that's good. A run through, whether we've completed it, we complete the things to do. Okay, that's fine. Those are the broad strokes. Now it's just a matter of making incremental steps forward uh, towards a deeper understanding of what each one means. As usual, we can just pick something and start asking questions, starting at the top with the templates. We can meet with our rocket people and ask how they actually use these things. We learned that they've got templates for just about everything. If it needs to, if it needs to be repeatable, there's a checklist for it. Okay, so if something is repeatable, it has a checklist, right? If it's not repeatable, it doesn't. It just is a template. So, yeah. So let's do. Oh, not that. Definitely not that. Let's do that. Where am I? Okay, we're here. So I'll do and put it here. So this is what I know. So we have a template, and a template is a list of tasks that have names currently. If it needs to be repeatable, there's a checklist for it. It could be as low level as much as how much to torque a particular knot in some sub-assembly, to as high level as transferring flight control to the rocket prior to launch, all of which tells us that we need a way of uniquely keeping track of these templates. Okay, this description of template is good enough, is a good enough start for our purpose. We next prod the rocket folks to learn how they use instances of these checklists in practice. This turns out to be pretty revealing because they use them slightly different from the informal way you and I might use checklist. For instance, if I am preparing for an international flight, I might run through a checklist as I pack socks, passports, toothpaste, etc. But once I'm done, I'm done. In the trash it goes. However, this is very much not how the rocket people use checklists. They run their checklists over and over again, often directly back to back as they drill operations. Each time they run through a checklist, they don't throw it away like I do, or just clear it out and start over like I would. They keep them as data. So when I hear that, I think store them somewhere, right? That's what I hear. Store them somewhere, keep them there because they are data, right? We need this. So a database or something that keeps that. All right. This is how they do it on this date. Okay, so I think instances run through. There are tons of information. Instance, I guess. Dates. Is that what I'm hearing? I didn't hear. Particular tests, days for the test. We perform these actions. Once completed, it's it's important immutable artifact cataloging which operations will perform as part of a particular test. So a name run through of a template at a particular point in time where we complete the things to do and the records and record the results. Okay, so it has like a run number. So let's say it has, why do I keep doing this? I think I'm on Windows or something. Oh, sorry, on Mac. Has ID for each run instance. Right, so it has an ID, has a date, and kind of like in progress, progress as to do done, something like that. Okay, something like that. All right, I am liking it, but we're at the end, so this is just to recap, right? Not a long one, just to recap. So right now we're trying to follow the DOP instance, and we're taking about, you're making a checklist for an imaginary rocket company, and they have a way they do things, right? They work on these things called checklists, as he calls them, but they're actually called procedures from the technical side of things. And they give us a variety of information, right, about how they go through what they call procedures, or how he calls it checklists. He has this like a template, right? A template. They have a template. A template is a document that just lists the stuff. Let's say the stuff to do on a particular component of a rocket. That's how I understand it from just reading it. So let's say you have like Wing Dynamics, as I put here. That's the name of the template, and it's specified to a component on a rocket machine. That's how I imagine it. It's gonna have like the lists of tasks to do on that particular whatever component, right? And this is just a template. That means it's just a list of things to do. It's not done yet, or it's not repeatable, or at least we don't know that it's repeatable at the moment. So it has, let's say you have to inspect stuff, right? That's one thing to do on this template. And you have to clean stuff. That's another thing to do on Wing Dynamics template, or whatever, just we can go down the list. If this thing, for this thing to become an instance, to be actually in a working progress, then we will have to create instances of them, right? Like a running model of them. So like in programming, you have what's it called? You have the static classes where they're not running, and then after they run, they're called processes, right? Or something like that. So an instance of a template is just a running something that's been worked on right now, right? And these tasks, the way I imagine them is, okay, a template is a list of things to do, right? On a given component, right? So that's a template, right? A list of stuff to do. And let's say, what are the tasks to do? And the task is clean wings or whatever, daily maintenance of a particular component in that wing, right? So it's gonna have all this list. It's gonna have the name and it's gonna have the lists. uh, the template is the list of all the tasks to do on a particular stuff. So right now we know that you have tasks and you have list of tasks, but we have a checklist is actually a checklist is a template for some reason, right? They're not so different currently from my understanding, but this might just be a bug because I've not read down, right? I've not read to the point where comfortable of saying this is this. So I might just change in here and just leave it as an empty with this, so we are not confused. Correct. So a checklist should have more things, right? So it should have more things in them. But that's it for today. I will read again tomorrow, I guess, if I have the time. Yep.